She's just your everyday gigantic-eyed blonde Japanese girl who constantly keeps flunking her exams. She spends most of her time solving her problems by intelligently ignoring them and finding more ways to spend her mother's money. They hook up.
Doug Walker, what the fuck is wrong with you? Doug Walker, you're a 39-year-old man who screams at movies under the guise of reviewing them. And sure, it used to be appealing to me when I was 14. Now, at the age of 20, I see you for who you are. A man-child who hides behind snark to cover up an ego problem. It's pathetic. It really is. But ironically enough, Doug Walker's 2013 Sailor Moon review got me really into, well, Sailor Moon. And to this day, it's still my favorite anime. So today, I want to discuss Doug Walker's Sailor Moon review and why he's wrong about many of the things he complains about. And of course, I'll give some context as to what the anime's really like. But first, my disclaimers. Number 1, I am a firm subs, not dubs kind of person, so I am biased against dubs, especially shitty ones. For his review, Doug Walker used the DIC dub. Don't watch it. It's really bad. If you want to watch the dubbed Sailor Moon, watch the Viz dub. I'm gonna try my best to not show my feelings about the DIC dub. I apologize if it comes through though. Number 2, Doug Walker only covers season 1 in his review, so I will try and do the same to avoid spoilers. And yes, there will be season 1 spoilers here. I'm sorry, it's inevitable. Number 3, do not harass anyone I mention in this video, please and thank you. Sailor Moon, or Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon, or Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, or any of the other dozens of things it's called, started out as a manga series by Naoko Takeuchi. She wanted to create something like Super Sentai or Power Rangers for girls, but with a somewhat darker tone. You see, there was only going to be one arc, the Dark Kingdom arc, and most of the main characters were going to be killed off. But as the manga was being simultaneously developed into an anime, Toei, the production company, asked her to nix that idea. So the anime started in 1992, focusing on Usagi Chasukino, an everyday middle school girl who isn't the best academically, but is a personified ray of sunshine.
Sounds like you should be careful around that girl or she might wait, Usagi!
Why, hello again!
Oh, it's you. So you go to school here too, huh?
I do. I'm Usagi.
One day, she encounters a talking cat named Luna, who reveals that she is the magical warrior Sailor Moon! Soon enough, Usagi finds the other warriors destined to fight evil. The timid genius Ami, the hot-headed Rei, the tomboy with a girly streak, Makoto, and the dutiful but ditzy Minako. Together, they defeat monsters and save the world! The show was revolutionary when it was released, codifying the magical girl genre as something action-oriented at its core, but with slices of life. And unsurprisingly, it was super popular. And its fan base is as strong as ever. I actually went to a Sailor Moon panel at an anime convention in 2018, and the room was packed! They even had a Sailor Moon store that you had to wait in line for over an hour, if I recall correctly, to enter. I got bath cubes. They smelled nice.
North American DIC Entertainment, known for such classics like Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling and ALF, the animated series, and the real Ghostbusters, saw dollar signs and purchased the English language rights, releasing it via first-run syndication in 1995. They made multiple cuts and edited the scenes to be more kid-friendly and action-oriented.
For example, listen to the differences in the music.
I am not letting you win this one, you witch. My friends are counting on me.
Hey, Serena.
The original dub was cancelled in 1996 due to airing at unreasonable times. Then it was temporarily uncancelled after protests from fans in order to air the remaining episodes of Sailor Moon's second season. Then, in 2000, it was uncancelled again after the dubbing rights were given to Cloverway, and up to season 4 was aired as a result.
Then the dub remained dead until 2014 when Viz Media acquired Sailor Moon's North American distribution rights and dubbing rights, releasing a much improved dub and remastered episodes.
I'll talk more about the anime proper throughout the review.
So the review starts with a mad scientist? What?
Right now, I'm in the laboratory of Dr. Hack, the master of formulas. Not scientific formulas, not mathematical formulas, but television formulas. Watch this. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers!
Land teens fight Petty Patrol, then Monster, then Giant Monster, and Giant Robot.
Okay, Doug clearly has an issue with formulaic content, which is problematic for a number of reasons. Number 1, not every idea has to be 100% original.
One of my all-time favorite movies is Heathers, which is a parody of 80s feel-good teen movies. One of my all-time favorite Simpsons episodes is Marge vs. the Monorail, which is a parody/homage to The Music Man.
Number 2, a lot of popular media follows a formula. You don't! You sang praise to Tom and Jerry, which is the same story with different gags. Sorry. My point is, Doug, this makes you look like a hypocrite. It's a banal, scratching the surface critique, and I don't like it at all. Anyway, what's the formula for Sailor Moon, Dougie boy?
14-year-old girl acts stupid, uses magical powers to look slutty and stupid, talking cat tells her how to fight crime because she's so stupid, surrounds herself with smarter girls that make her look even more stupid.
That's Sailor Moon.
Fucking seriously? You're just going to boil a 14-year-old girl down to slutty and stupid? Jesus fucking Christ!
I have a theory though. Doug thinks Sailor Moon is lazy and formulaic because it heavily relies on filler episodes. And I'll admit, the amount of them is excessive. Give me a list of episodes and I'll probably strike out a third or more of them for irrelevance. But context is key.
You see, the manga and anime ran simultaneously, with the latter about a month behind. Toei obviously didn't want to jump the gun on what Naoko was planning story-wise, and as a result, lighthearted fare like Usagi and Co. go to the beach was inevitable.
The Rainbow Crystal sub-arc is a classic example of this, because Naoko hadn't written Sailor Venus's introduction or the reveal of the Moon Princess yet. Toei wrote their own mini-saga where one of the most iconic objects of Sailor Moon lore, the Silver Crystal, was separated into 7 rainbow crystals and sealed into mostly one-off characters. It was one of the better sub-arcs of the show. Definitely better than...
もうお前に対して愛情が感じられなくなったんだ。
マモちゃん、私、お勉強もちゃんとするよ。だから、
何度も言わせるな。お前とはもう終わりにしたいんだよ。
And it was worth it for the episode Loved and Chased, Luna's worst day ever. It's fucking hilarious and worth 1,000,000 watches, I promise. Sorry, I got a bit carried away there. Anyway, my point is to do your homework before you complain that something is formulaic.
So I'm gonna skip ahead a little because the next 4 minutes of the review are irrelevant to the substance of Sailor Moon. The dub, for some reason, starts with a backstory on how there was a powerful kingdom on the moon 1,000 years ago, and everyone who lived there was attacked and had to be reincarnated into 90s Tokyo, which sadly spoils the reveal of Queen Serenity, the Moon Princess's mother, the existence of the Silver Crystal, and the Moon Stick, and in general makes an irrelevant, action-packed backstory out of what was, in the original, a rather emotional scene from one of my favorite episodes.
With the power of the Silver Crystal, I was able to seal away Metalia. However, there's no telling when she'll return once again. Princess Serenity, and all the other Sailor Guardians as well. May your future lives on Earth be filled with love, kindness, and hope.
Yeah, I bet you thought this was going to be a big space opera with action, drama, and exotic locations. But nope, it's just your common English-speaking town that has everything in Japanese for some reason.
Space opera, huh? I wonder what other show had such a sudden change in tone. Wait!
In my opinion, the dub is like the Lunatics Unleashed of the 90s, tone-wise. It can't seem to decide whether to be an action show or a slice-of-life comedy. And given that the original anime was more comedic in tone...
I say this because I feel Doug Walker ignores the context behind the original Sailor Moon.
Being pretty as sin and dumb as cheese, she of course is very popular in school, obtaining all sorts of friends, like an over-the-top accent with a human attached to it.
That's weird. Very weird.
Okay, I know this isn't necessarily a problem the dub has, but I need to get this out of the way. Naru's Boston accent in the dub was an adaptation of her Kansai dialect in the original.
The Kansai accent / dialect is native to Kyoto and Osaka, and the former is a sister city to Boston, though that was probably just coincidental. Kansai dialect is typically characterized as more casual, open, and brash than standard Tokyo dialect Japanese.
And as someone who has been educated in standard Japanese, I can tell the difference.
Ohayo.
Ohayo.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
In anime dubs, the Kansai dialect is usually replaced by either a southern or, as in the DIC dub, a Boston accent. End of rant, moving on. What else you got, Doug?
Take out the fact that's obviously fan service. Take out the fact that just like He-Man, somehow removing more clothes bizarrely disguises them. And just tell yourself, this obviously sexualized transformation happens to a 14-year-old girl.
Oh boy, this is gonna be fun.
Apparently, Doug has been reading Cutie's discourse and must bring up that Usagi is a minor, as are her friends. What the legit fuck?
Now, I'm not here to add on to the debate on whether or not Sailor Moon is full of fan service. I'm here to bring forward Doug's absolute hypocrisy in discussing Usagi's age. For example, considering that Usagi is 14 and you wrote that she was slutty and stupid, shouldn't you be the one to blame for sexualizing her in the first place? The anime was targeted towards girls, for Christ's sake. If you want fan service, watch a more adult magical girl anime, or hentai, or La Blue Girl for both. the best of both worlds. That's right, I just recommended porn. I am not sorry.
And another thing, despite Doug going on and on and on about Usagi being 14, he didn't bring up the implications of her relationship with Mamoru. Why? I mean, at the start of the anime, he's 17! You may think that age difference is rather benign or innocent. And if so, congrats for still being a minor. Let me explain. There can be a bit of a power abuse when a 14-year-old dates a 17-year-old, and it can just look weird, since mentally, emotionally, and often physically, a 14-year-old is different from a 17-year-old.
Like, think back to your teens. Were you the same at 17 as you were at 14? I sure as hell wasn't. And I actually have a bit of personal experience with a 14 and a 17-year-old dating. So, there was a guy I went to high school with. For the sake of this story, we'll call him, Blake. Yeah, Blake will work. Blake was one of the popular kids at my high school. He was in my grade, he was smart, athletic, a meme lord, and that's all I'll say because I think any specifics will actually reveal his identity. Our senior year of high school, he started dating this girl we'll call her Brittany. Yeah, Brittany will work. So Blake and Brittany became a thing when he and I were seniors in high school. And initially I thought Brittany was like a junior. I didn't recognize her, I didn't see her in any of my classes, but I went to a really big public high school, so I didn't even know like half the people I graduated with. But they were very cute, lovey-dovey with each other. I think, from what I've heard, they've made out at various sports competitions because they did the same sport. But then, a sophomore friend of mine informed me that Brittany was actually a freshman, which weirded the shit out of me because, again, I thought she was a junior. Like, why is this senior dating this freshman? That's weird. Anyway, they've broken up now, and I believe Brittany is a senior in the same high school now. So it was just really weird to see a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old date because one of them is just starting like the next big step of their life, and the other is preparing for the next big step of their life that is beyond high school. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, back to you. Regular camera Flowergothic. Yeah.
Speaking of age gaps, Doug then goes on a tangent on the age of consent, stating that it's 13 in Japan, which isn't 100% true. The federal age of consent is indeed 13, sadly. But many prefectures have incogiole, or fornication ordinances that in practice raise it. Is this the same as Doug's statement that 13 to 17-year-olds can only have sex with other 13 to 17-year-olds? Well, yes and no. Some prefectures, like Tokyo, yes, it's a prefecture that happens to be the capital, have pretty much set the age of consent to 18. Others have set it to 16 or 17. So the de facto age of consent is not 13. And from what I could gather, the only exception to this is if the two parties have a sincere romantic relationship.
Yes, it seems complicated. I know. I'm sorry. My point is, it's ironic that Doug brings up that Usagi is 14, then just tries to justify his attraction to her. That's on him, not them. This culminates in a rather creepy scene where Doug imagines his penis is coercing him to wink to the anime. And that's all I'm gonna say about that!
Doug then brings up Sailor V, an unseen character who's later revealed to be the true and honest Sailor Venus. and seems to not understand the reason behind her inclusion.
By the way, here's a confusing scene. We see her walk by a poster of a young girl dressed exactly how she is dressed.
I wish I could be like Sailor V. She's so beautiful and smart. Something exciting's always happening in her life.
A movie or TV industry got wind of this idea that coincidentally is exactly the same as what's going on right now? Does that mean that something like Transformers is a true story then?
Doug, if you bothered to do 1 minute of research, you'd know that Sailor V was the original precursor to Sailor Moon. Remember how I said earlier that Minako / Sailor Venus was dutiful but ditzy? This is why! Doug also doesn't realize that the costume Sailor Moon and Co. wear is the sailor part of the Sailor Senshi. It's based off the sailor uniform common in Japanese junior high schools. And sadly, yes, it has been sexualized to hell and back thanks to anime.
But what was the intention here? I mean, again, this anime was targeted towards girls. Also, bit of a nitpick, but still.
The girls in this show are, and always have been, 14 years old.
Not true. They're 16 by the end of this series. I only bring this up because it just goes to show how piss poor Doug is at doing his research. He then complains about how the villains wait while Usagi calmly transforms because willing suspension of disbelief is not allowed. Actually, I do. I have different standards for different genres.
Sailor Moon is the codifier for the magical girl genre, so I can forgive the transformation sequences and other anime tropes. It's just what happens.
Let me compare that to a fanfiction I read on stream.
Flowers Fanfiction Theater every Saturday, 2:30 p.m. CST or CDT on Twitch!
While writing the script for this video. And I'm sorry, Sweden, but you must be punished for allowing the Bernadottes to still exist. Your princes are Chads, though. Anyway, while writing the script for this video, I was reading a Tumblr fanfiction called Swedish Royal American Love Story by Crystal Smith. Not her real name, that's the name I gave her. It stars an idealized version of herself, Lucy Kingston, who captivates Prince Isaac of Sweden, the non-existent younger son of the king, and they fall in love and date, and everyone ships them because they are so kawaii together, ooh woo! This takes place in Tennessee, by the way. No royal would be caught dead in bumfuck Tennessee! No Quebecois would speak European French. The Swedish is just a sloppy Google Translate. Don't believe me? I asked my mom, who is well versed in El European Francois. I also asked my Swedish friend. My standards for fanfiction are low as is, but I expect it to be, not entirely self-serving to the protagonist, which this story definitely is. It's terrible, completely mischaracterizes people, especially Mary, and I highly recommend it if you want to suffer.
Back to the topic at hand. There's another Doug doesn't do his homework moment. The moon pen.
It's a very powerful transforming tool. It turns you into whatever you want.
Well, then what the fuck is she using that tiara for? They didn't give any limitations or anything. They said she can change into fucking anything she wants.
Okay, that was a mistranslation on DIC's end. Let me explain.
The pen's original name was the Hansel pen, which translates to disguise pen, so it's not all-powerful. It does not allow the user to make their dreams come true. It's pretty much a costume changer. It does not allow Serena to turn into Godzilla, like Doug thinks.
What else you got, you sick son of a bitch?
Tuxedo Mask, thank you!
Don't mention it.
Oh yeah! I almost forgot about Doug's shitty description of Tuxedo Mask.
In the anime, Tuxedo Mask is originally a neutral character. He saved Sailor Moon and her friends at times, but still had his own ambitions and desires. For example, in the aforementioned Rainbow Crystal sub-arc, Tuxedo Mask wished to obtain the silver crystal for himself, as he believed it was the key to learning about the childhood he forgot and the memories he desired to have again. He's also Mamoru Chiba, or Darien Shields in this dub, Usagi's love interest. But
this is Tuxedo Mask, and yes, it is painfully obvious who it really is. But please don't tell Serena, she's not very bright.
Okay, Doug. Tuxedo Mask's identity was never intended to be some big secret.
First of all, it was lampshaded in one of the earlier episodes, one that did get dubbed by DIC.
Serena, doesn't that guy kind of remind you of Tuxedo Mask?
And second of all, Tuxedo Mask's identity was outright confirmed in episode 16 of the original dub. Do your fucking research!
Also, fun fact, the first Brazilian-Portuguese dub of Sailor Moon initially had different actors for Mamoru and Tuxedo Mask, because they didn't realize it was the same guy. I bring this up because not everyone had enough common sense to tell the difference, and also because I think it's funny.
Nota 3? Estou achando que você deveria estudar pouquinho mais, sua cabeçuda.
Olha aqui, não se meta na minha vida, tá bom?
Vou me apresentar. Sou nada menos do que Tuxedo Mask. Não ganhará nada se continuar choramingando Sailor Moon.
Mas quem está choramingando?
There's not much else of substance in the video. Doug glances over Sailors Uranus and Neptune, complains about the Sailor Says segments, even though those were recorded to meet US syndication standards at the time. The end.
Overall, it's a heavily flawed outlook of the show, but it got me hooked. And looking back, it's clear that Doug was basing all his points on the DIC dub, which is not a good starting point for the series and can turn people away. It gives a bad name to anime, and thus, in the name of the moon, he must be punished.
わかったわ。
See you next time. I promise the next video will be Doug Walker free.
Sailor Moon, min vän, ödet är dolt, går det att se vad som väntar dig, står i stjärnorna. Ibland kan verkligheten vara rätt jobbig och tung. För en 14-årig tjej, hon är ju så ung. Då kan drömmen om evig kärlek, dold bakom månen i stjärnornas sken, ge lite tröst och mod i hjärtat. Tänk om man finns kärlekens kung.